आप इधर ध्यान देंगे थोड़ा सा आउटलाइंस के ऊपर। और आता है इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, इनको हाफ एंड डार्क कर देंगे एस क्वेश्चन, इनको हाफ एंड डार्क क्या बनेगा इसको, इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन। इंडियन आर्म्स, इनको पूरा देना। जो एक्चुअल वर्ड आता है वो आता है इंडियन आर्म्स एंड एक्सप्लोसिव एक्ट्स। तो इंडियन आर्म्स एंड एक्सप्लोसिव, तो यहीं पे इंडियन आर्म्स एंड एक्सप्लोसिव एक्ट के लिए के को हाफ कर देंगे। इंडियन कंपनीज एक्ट, इंडियन कंपनीज एक्ट, कंपनी से के लगाया, ऐसा शक्ल लगा के एक्ट को हाफ कर दिया। इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट, इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट एंड हाफ एंड हाफ रहेगा इसका। जो पहला वर्ड था वो क्या था, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, और दूसरा वर्ड क्या है इसके अंदर, इंडियन आर्म्स, इंडियन आर्म्स एंड एक्सप्लोसिव्स एक्ट, फिर इंडियन कंपनीज एक्ट, और लास्ट वाला क्या है इसके अंदर, इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट। इंडियन पेनल कोड, क्योंकि पैनल के साथ में क्या नहीं आता, एक्ट नहीं आता, क्या आएगा, कोड आएगा। एन को हाफ कर दो, डी के लिए पैनल कोड। इंडियन रेलवेज एक्ट, वैसे लाइन पे बनेगा ये, क्योंकि डाउनवर्ड स्ट्रोक हो तो ऊपर उठेगा, वरना ये बनेगा लाइन पे। इंडियन पैनल कोड। इंडियन रेलवेज एक्ट, रेलवेज के लिए आर से काट देंगे, अपवर्ड आर से, इंडियन रेलवेज एक्ट। इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट्स एक्ट, लाइन से नीचे टच करते डार्क वाला क्या पढ़ते हैं, इंडस्ट्रियल, और ये बन जाएगा इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट एक्ट। एक वर्ड आता है इंटीमीडिएट, एक आता है वर्ड इंसल्ट, और एक वर्ड आता है एनओए। और ये तो जुड़े होते हैं कोमा के साथ, और लास्ट वाला जुड़ा होता है और के साथ। ये बड़ा फ्रिक्वेंटली यूज किया जाता है जब आप लीगल कंटेंट के साथ में कुछ भी लिख रहे होते हो, या कहीं पे कोई भी लीगल कंटेंट से मैटर आता है। इंटिमिडेट, इंसल्ट और एनओए, जब ये वर्ड एक साथ आएंगे तो आपने जो लाइन है उसके ऊपर एन को हाफ कर देना है। इंटिमिडेट साथ में इंसल्ट के लिए एन में एस लगा देना है, और एनओए के लिए एन लगा देना है। ये इसी सीक्वेंस में लिखा जाएगा, ये पढ़ा जाएगा इंटिमिडेट, इंसल्ट और एनओए। इंसल्ट में और एनओए आपने लिखना है, इंटिमिडेट, एनओए और इंसल्ट, तो ये हो जाएगा इंटिमिडेट, एनओए और इंसल्ट, एस नहीं। उसके बाद में आपको लिखना है पहले इंसल्ट, फिर इंटिमिडेट और एनओए, तो ये इंसल्ट, इंटिमिडेट, एनओए। आपने पता लगे किसके लिए क्या यूज करना है, सीक्वेंस बोलने के हिसाब से रखी जाएगी। ज्यादातर जो वर्ड बोला जाता है वो बोला जाता है इंटिमिडेट, इंसल्ट और एनओए। या बोला जाता है इंटिमिडिएट, एनोए और इंसल्ट, या इंसल्ट, इंटिमिडिएट और एनोए, इंसल्ट, एनोए और इंटिमिडिएट। अगर बोलता है वो इंसल्ट, एनोए और इंटरमीडिएट, तो इंसल्ट, एनोए और इंटरमीडिएट, इंटिमिडेट, ये वर्ड जनरली यूज होते हैं। तो पहला वर्ड क्या था आपके यहां पे? इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, इंडियन आर्म्स, इंडियन आर्म्स एंड एक्सप्लोसिव एक्ट, इंडियन कंपनीज एक्ट, इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट, फिर यहाँ पे इंडियन पेनल कोड, इंडियन रेलवेज एक्ट, इंडस्ट्रियल में क्या लगा दिया? डिस्प्यूट एक्ट, इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट एक्ट, फिर ये इंटिमिडेट, इंसल्ट और एनोए। अगर मैं सीक्वेंस चेंज कर देता हूं, ये क्या हो जाएगा? इंटिमिडेट, एनोए और इंसल्ट, ये क्या हो जाएगा? इंसल्ट, इंटिमिडेट और एनोए, ये इंसल्ट, एनोए और इंटिमिडेट। लिखो वर्ड को। पहला वर्ड लिखेंगे इसमें इंडियन आर्म्स, इंडियन आर्म्स एक्ट, इंडियन आर्म्स एंड एक्सप्लोसिव्स एक्ट, इंडियन कंपनीज एक्ट, इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट, इंडियन पेनल कोड, इंडियन रेलवेज एक्ट, इंडियन डिस्प्यूट्स एक्ट, इंडस्ट्रियल डिस्प्यूट्स एक्ट, इंटिमिडेट, इंसल्ट और एनोए, इंटिमिडेट, एनोए और इंसल्ट, इंसल्ट, इंटिमिडेट और एनोए, इंसल्ट, एनोए और इंटरमीडिएट, इंटिमिडेट। आप डिक्टेशन लिखेंगे जो आपको मिल जाएगा सेट नंबर 26 के नाम से, SSC C&D ग्रेड टेस्ट 26, यूट्यूब, स्पीड 100 की, 80 विद कोमा नो कोमा मिल जाएगा आपको इसमें, और ये URL वही रहेगा 3p program.steno 18.in पे, और ये आपको लगभग 5 मिनट बाद अपडेट होगा इसकी डिक्टेशन के बाद में। वर्ड लिखेंगे, जितने वर्ड लिखे जाएंगे अच्छे से लिखेंगे। रेडी? Started. So far as the utility of the All India services is concerned, I would like to mention that first of all, it will introduce an element of competition. There will be a wider field of selection. There will be mobility from one state to another, and from the states to the center, and from the center to the states. These people will thus have a greater opportunity of gaining very rich experience, which will be of great use not only to them but to the people with whom they have to work. I would also like to mention one more very important aspect, that of national integration. The men of the All India services, by their experience, is one state will be able to come closer to the people of the different states, mix with them well, and this will accelerate the process of national integration. This is not a small achievement through the services. If the services do not have this national approach, then it is bound to have an adverse effect on the people as a whole, because the services are in a way an element of the society and they are able to build up public opinion. I am not only talking of the officers at the top, but at different levels and the kinds of opinion they hold, the way they behave, the way they act, all have their own effect on the people, and if they function on a national basis in a disinterested way, having no parochial views and consider matters at the national level, then this will create a national atmosphere in the country. So it is very important that there should be as many all India services as possible, because as I said, they are able to move about with every section of the people of the states, know their language, and they are able to bring fresh experience and fresh outlook in the different states wherever they go. Coming to the present two services which are the subject matter of this resolution, the Agricultural Administration Committee, which was set up to examine the question of reorganization of agricultural administration, recommended the formation of an All India Agricultural Service. Accordingly, a scheme was drawn up by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and circulated to the state governments on August 9, 2012. So far as the question of All India Services is concerned, it is this House that has the right to move and pass such a resolution, but because the states are also concerned, naturally we consult the states. We take them into confidence, we discuss with them, and it is only after all the states have agreed that this question was finally decided, and it was thought proper that these two All India services should be formed. This does not mean that merely by the passing of this resolution the services are finalized. The terms and conditions, the number of posts, promotions, and other details will have again to be brought before Parliament. As you know, this resolution only says that it is necessary and expedient in the national interest that Parliament should by law provide for the creation of these two services. So this resolution is only a preliminary step in a way. This is not a final step. Therefore, I am not going to touch upon the details because the details are not necessary, but I will give broad outlines to these two services. It is proposed that, like the existing All India services, each state should have an agriculture service cadre of its own, incorporating the posts of direct agricultural officers and above. The union territories would have a separate cadre to meet their requirements. The requirements of the center would be met by drawing officers on tenure deputation from the state and union territories cadres. So far as recruitment is concerned, 33% of the senior posts will be filled by promotion of officers of the state agricultural services, while the remaining posts will be filled by direct recruitment. That means those who are already in position will be promoted, while 2/3 of the total will be filled by direct recruitment. There will be 4 categories of posts: Director of Agriculture, Additional Directors, Deputy Directors, and Assistant Directors of Agriculture. These are the broad outlines. I am not going into the details. So far as the educational service is concerned, it was at the National Integration Conference held from 20th September to 1st October 1961 that views were expressed strongly that for administrative purposes an all India service should be created in the field of education. It was not only at that conference, but here also more than once several members had brought forward resolutions for this purpose. I remember one of our revered members brought such a resolution. Very often such resolutions were brought forward, but it was not possible for us to get all the states together. If we look at the provision of the Constitution, we will find that this resolution is in pursuance of the provision in Article 312. According to sub-article 2 of the same article, we have now the Indian Administrative Service and the Indian Police Service, which according to the sub-article are deemed to have been created by Parliament. Earlier also, we decided to create some other all India services. The reasons for the creation of these services have been given by the Honorable Minister, and I entirely agree to them. One other aspect of this question I want to place before this House, and that is that the scale of pay and the prospects in the all India services will be better than those in the state services, that there will be a wider field of selection, and that the conditions of service and the scale of pay will attract better persons. We know that quite a large number of our young men, doctors, engineers, etc. are still outside the country. Though they are keen to come and serve the country, the service conditions in the state services are not such as to attract them. 100 की स्पीड है, फ्लक्चुएशंस लगभग ना के बराबर हैं. आप इसको जो सेट मिलेगा आपको ये 26 के नाम से मिल जाएगा, SSC C D ग्रेड टेस्ट 26 यूट्यूब 100 पे विद कोमा के साथ आफ्टर डिक्टेशन. कम पे लिखेंगे 80 के आसपास. Start it. Mr. Vice Chairman, I would now like to make a few observations on the Ministry of Education. Education is basis to any national regeneration. It is true that it does not bring any return as our other projects do, as for instance the steel projects or the irrigation projects do. But this is the investment that is designed to help building up of the human material. It is agreed that education has expanded after independence and during the plan periods. But it is a matter for concern that the content of education has not been equal to our expectations. Even today, we are engaged in experimenting with all types of education from the basic stage up to the university level. It is not clear, I presume, that the basic pattern of education of which so much was said and written is accepted as a success even today. Where do we stand with regard to the basic pattern? It seems to be the position that all arguments are in favor of that type of education, but all proof is against the success of such a type of education. Where does the government stand with regard to this type of education? We swore by the basic type of education because it was discovered by the father of the nation. But if it has been a failure, why should not the government say that that is the position? Then again, take secondary education and also collegiate education. 3 years ago, it was said that all universities should have 3-year degree courses, and same universities which were reluctant to accept this reform were more or less compelled to do so, and they accepted it. Now, certain universities find that this scheme is not working satisfactorily, and they feel that they should have a 2-year course in the college before students could enter the degree course. I mention this to show that this eternal tinkering with education should stop, and it should not go on like this. This uncertainty is not only with regard to the main objective of education, the main structure of education from the primary to the collegiate level, but also with regard to the courses of studies, and also with regard to the language or medium of instruction. Mr. Chairman, up to the secondary stage, it has been accepted that the medium of instruction should be the regional language. The National Integration Council, however, stated that if universities are to exchange professors, if they have to develop freely, then there should be the common medium of instruction, namely English and Hindi. Now, at the latest National Integration Council meeting, we are told that the medium of instruction in the colleges should also be the regional language ultimately, and if that comes to pass, I ask, how will national integration be achieved? It is permissible to envisage a stage if the scheme of the National Integration Council is implemented, where different universities will have different media of instruction, and the men that will be drawn from these universities will have to man the judiciary of the land and the all India services, but they will not be able to serve in a state other than the one in which they were educated. How can integration be achieved? We are working at cross purposes. It is time that a high power body was appointed to hammer out a national scheme of education having integration as the basic aim and to implement it systematically. The present method of meddling at every stage of education, the present climate in which we are not clear about the medium of instruction at different stages, is causing concern to the parents, to the pupils, and weakening the country in the process. This is a major problem at this stage of the development of the country. Then, Mr. Vice Chairman, I would pass on to the Ministry of Transport and Communications. According to this ministry, we are to build a system of national highways, provincial or state highways, an integrated system of communications from the village upwards, but the central government is concerned with the construction of national highways. It is good to have a fine system of national highways. It also serves as a physical link for integrating the nation. It is good, but this planning of construction of national highways without regard to the development of railways and the development of industries in the regions in which the highways are proposed to be constructed will be something beyond our means at the present moment. Assuming that we have a network of national highways, are they to be put to immediate use? Are they good investments unless you have industries, small, big or medium, coming along the highways, unless they assure you a fair return for the investment? It is not desirable to have a system of highways for the sake of mere transport of passengers. In other words, we should have a scheme of priorities for the national highways so that they can be looked after. 80 की स्पीड है, 840 के आसपास वर्ड बोले गए हैं. ये आपको सेट नंबर 26 के नाम से मिलेगा, 80 विद कोमा नो कोमा के नाम से. अगर अच्छा लिखा तो टाइप करेंगे, मैं अपडेट कर देता हूँ उसके अंदर. अदरवाइज आप डिक्टेशन रूम में बैठेंगे और अपनी सीन डिक्टेशन लिखेंगे.